I'm Reverend Dr. Marian Stewart. It is my pleasure to serve this congregation as senior minister. This morning, we celebrate Winter Solstice. People long ago noted the change of seasons from warm to cold, to dark to light. Solstice has been marked by artwork, stone hinges, earthen mounds, and celebrations. Today, we honor the turning of the seasons and the earth found in solstice traditions, ancient and contemporary. As we begin our time together, we acknowledge that we are on land that Native Americans inhabited for at least 14,000 years. In central and southern Ohio, long before white people came, Native groups traversed, hunted, fished, and farmed near the Scioto and Olentangy rivers. A large burial mound near High Street and Mound Street was built by the Dina culture between 800 BCE and 100 CE. Other Native groups lived here as well. In the 1770s, members of the Seneca Cuyahoga Nation established a village on the banks of the Scioto near present-day Columbus. Under the Indian Removal Act of 1830, Native tribes in central Ohio were forcefully removed to the lands west of the Mississippi River. I invite you to take a deep breath, to be present in this moment as we listen to our prelude.
Thank you, Nathan. Good morning, happy solstice, and welcome to First Year U. My name is Kelly McNeil, and I serve as the Director of Congregational Life. It is so very good to be with you this morning. If you are visiting with us this morning, and I know there are some of you as you've already checked in, welcome. Please let us know that you are here by filling out our visitors form on our website. You can find a link to that in the chat box. I hope you will join us on Thursday at 7 p.m. for our Christmas Eve carol sing and service. The Zoom link will be sent out a little after 6 o'clock Christmas Eve. And for now, I invite you into our time of worship.
If you have your candle, your chalice, whatever you need to light, I invite you to bring it now so that we can light our chalice together. To honor the winter solstice, when the longest night gradually gives way to light, we light our chalice with these words from Diane Lee Moomey. Again did the earth shift. Again did the night grow short and the days long. And the people of the earth were glad and celebrated, each in their own ways. Our chalice is lit.
This is the night of the solstice, the longest night of the year. Now darkness triumphs and yet gives way and changes into light. The breath of nature is suspended. All waits, while within the cauldron the dark king is transformed into the infant light. We watch for the coming of dawn when the great mother again gives birth to the divine child sun, who is bringer of hope and the promise of summer. This is the stillness behind emotion, when time itself stops. The center is also the circumference of all. We are awake in the night. We turn the wheel to bring the light. We call the sun from the womb of night. Blessed be. From Starhawk, a pagan high priestess.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you for reading our solstice reading from Starhawk. We will now sing our opening song together, Chant for All Seasons. As is our custom, we will sing the winter verse at this winter solstice.
Autumn cold has turned the star wheel, winter is upon us. Autumn cold has turned the star wheel, winter is upon us. Gray the windy storms, cold upon our cheeks, the wet rain glistens, glistens. Autumn cold has turned the star wheel, winter is upon us. Leaping is the fire, golden in the glass, the cider glows like amber. Autumn cold has turned the star wheel, winter is upon us.
Good morning. I'm Amber Scott, your Director of Religious Exploration. Most of our Sunday school classes are on holiday break until January, but our Navigator Scout juniors do meet online later today. Please check the chat box or email me for more information. Today's story is called The Shortest Day, Celebrating the Winter Solstice, written by Wendy Pfeffer and illustrated by Jesse Reich. In late autumn, in the northern part of the world, squirrels hide nuts, foxes grow thick fur coats, and flocks of birds fly to warmer places. The sun rises later each morning and sets earlier each evening. Each day, it appears lower in the southern sky. As the sun gets lower and lower, the north gets less and less daylight. The air grows colder. Chickadees fluff their feathers to keep warm. Woodchucks hibernate in their burrows, and white-tailed deer nuzzle through the snow to find the last blades of grass. On short winter days, children bundle in warm clothes and walk through a frosty white world, dragging long shadows behind them. On long winter nights, families eat dinner while it's dark outside. Children wonder when the days will get long again so they can play outside after dinner like they did in the summer. In the north, on or around December 21st, the sun reaches its lowest point on the horizon, making that the shortest day of the year. Like all days, December 21st has 24 hours, But it's called the shortest day because it has the fewest hours of daylight. The shortest day, called the winter solstice, is the beginning of winter. And in some places, winter means cold, nose-nipping weather. The earth tilts as it moves around the sun. When the northern part of the earth tilts away from the sun, the north gets less heat and light than the southern part. Long ago, people didn't understand how the earth tilts and moves around the sun. They didn't understand why each day had less sunshine than the day before. Some believed that evil spirits made the sun go away. People feared that the sun wouldn't shine on them anymore, making their world cold and dreary and dark. They needed the sun's warmth and light. So did their plants, which they needed for food. They held ceremonies that lasted for weeks to persuade their gods to bring the sun back. Over the years, people noticed that after short days, the days gradually got longer. Joyous people bathed in the sun's warmth and light. They celebrated their harvests. About 5,000 years ago, people who studied the sky noticed that day after day, the sun set in different places on the western horizon. They discovered that when the sun set farthest south, that was the shortest day. These early astronomers planned to mark the shortest day. Then each year, people would know when the days would start getting longer again. On the day when the sun reached its southernmost point on the horizon, the astronomers carried out their plan. Workers stacked stones to frame the setting sun. They made a special opening like a keyhole or the eye of a needle. When the setting sun's rays beamed through that opening, people knew the shortest day was over. Days gradually got longer for the next 6 months. When the sun appeared farthest to the north, its rays shone through another keyhole. People knew it was the longest day of the year, the first day of summer. In China, over 3,000 years ago, astronomers measured shadows to determine the shortest day. The longest shadows appeared on the shortest day because the sun was at its lowest point in the sky. They knew that as the sun appeared higher in the sky, shadows would get shorter and the days would get longer. Over 2,000 years ago, Romans celebrated the shortest day with festivals and merrymaking. They gave evergreen branches to friends as a sign of good luck. Evergreen wreaths decorated their doors. Since these plants stayed green when others turned brown, they reminded the Romans of the coming spring. Mistletoe and holly hung in their homes because plants that survived the harsh winter were symbols of life. Many people believed these plants would bring strength to their families. About 1,000 years ago, Europeans celebrated the winter solstice. Druid priests of England and Ireland decorated oak trees with golden apples and candles to represent harvest and light. In Sweden, a festival of light celebrated the return of longer days. On St. Lucia's Day, girls wore crowns of evergreens and candles to rekindle the sun's fire as they delivered warm buns to family and friends. Boys went from door to door, singing to the neighbors for a few coins. Around the same time in history, the Incas of Peru marked the shortest day with a festival in honor of the sun. At dawn, when the sun first appeared, shouts of happiness rang out. Then the Incas used a shiny surface to reflect the sun's rays onto fluffy, dry cotton and made it burst into flame. They carried the fire to their temples and kept it burning on the altars all year because it came from one of their gods, the sun. Today, people still celebrate at the beginning of winter by decorating their houses, lighting the darkness, gathering together, and exchanging gifts. They no longer worry that the sun will disappear forever. People know that days get colder when their part of the earth tilts away from the sun. They know that days get shorter when the sun appears low in the sky. People celebrate the shortest day because longer days follow. Flocks of birds will return, seedling oak trees will sprout, and children can play outside after dinner. For more than 5,000 years, people have welcomed the winter solstice because it's a new beginning. The end. As we heard in our story, there are many solstice traditions still alive and well in holiday celebrations today. People still rejoice as the seasons turn from dark to light. As we pass through these darker days, may the light of our community burn brightly and illuminate our path back into the sunshine.
Thank you, Amber. I'm Isabel Call, your Assistant Minister of Pastoral Care. Later in our time together, I will hold space for our joys and sorrows. Whether you are dragging a long shadow behind you or bearing witness to a small or bright light, you are welcome here as you are. If you want to share a significant event in your life, I invite you to use the chat box now to type your full name and in 10 words or less, your sorrow or joy. Then select Send to Panelists. In the future, you are welcome to submit a request ahead of time on our website under Connections. This is also a place to ask to get in touch with us for pastoral care, to request a caring card, or to get support from our caring network. I invite you now to join in singing All Beautiful, the March of Days.
All beautiful the march of days as seasons come and go. The hand that shapes the rose hath wrought the crystal of the snow, hath sent the hoary frost of them, the flowing waters sealed, and laid a silent loveliness on hill and wood and field. All bright expanses sparkling clear, the radiant tones unfold, the solemn splendors of the night burn brighter through the cold. Life mounts in every throbbing vein, love deepens round the hearth, and clearer sounds the angel hymn, goodwill to all on earth. O thou from whose unfathomed law the earring bounty flows, myself the vision passing by in crystal and in rose. Day unto death doth utter speech, and night to night proclaim, in ever-changing words of light, the wonder of thy name.
Thank you, Brandon and Michaela. When I was growing up, Mom would often shoo us kids outside. Go, go, go out and play. In time, our playground expanded from the backyard to writing all about the neighborhood. Be home by supper time was the only commandment. Rarely did my brother and I go out the door in the same direction. He had his favorite places to explore, as did I. Being outside was a good thing. It was a kid's freedom. Sometimes I was bored, but not too often. I have a pretty good imagination. Only a few times was it scary. That happened when I got lost. I learned to retrace my steps or slow down and look for familiar landmarks. In this sense, it helped that my family moved from a city to a small town when I was in grade school. You couldn't get lost for long in a town that was only a mile wide. Our house was on one side of town and the elementary school was on the other side. Right in the middle was a downtown with a drugstore that if I did get lost, I could always find my way downtown to the lunch counter and get an ice cream cone. You know, getting home from there was pretty easy. When I wasn't on my bike, I went exploring the woods behind a friend's house. We would catch crawdads in the creek, and we'd do that for a while, and then we'd cross over the creek to the other side. We'd explore and explore and explore. The woods were so big in my eyes. They went on and on. It would be so easy to get lost, and sometimes I did. Daniel Boone, that great explorer of the Appalachian Ridges and what was then the western edge of our country, was once asked if he ever got lost. He had already proven that he could navigate for days, weeks, months on end into territory not yet explored by white people. On getting lost, he said, "No, but I was once confused for 3 days." I wonder, in this time of pandemic, if you have ever felt lost. If you have, you are not alone. On this longest night in what seems to be the longest year, getting lost might be commonplace or an understatement. We have the pandemic. We have shutdowns and masking and fear. On top of that, we've had seamlessly endless political drama. Getting lost from all the deviations from what we know to be normal is understandable. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, we have gone off into the woods, not certain of return. Rebecca Solnit wrote a treasure of a book, A Field Guide to Getting Lost. It's an older book published in 2005, and when I found it again, I read it and said, yes, this is it. This is where we are now. I love how she introduces the idea of getting lost by sharing others' thoughts as well as her own. She writes, on a celebrated midwinter's night in 1817, the poet John Keats walked home talking with some friends, and several things dovetailed in his mind, and at once it struck him what quality went to form a man of achievement, especially in literature. I mean, negative capability. That is, when a man, or we might say a person, is capable of being in uncertainties, mysteries, doubts, without any irritable reaching after fact or reason. One way or another, this notion occurs over and over again, like on the spots labeled terra incognita on old maps. I think we can all agree with Keats as we recognize this particular moment as a time of terra incognita. We've never been here before, not like this. Solnit continues, not to find one's way in a city may well be uninteresting and banal. It requires ignorance, nothing more, says the 20th century philosopher, essayist Walter Benjamin. But to lose oneself in a city, as one loses oneself in a forest, that calls for quite a different schooling. To lose yourself, a voluptuous surrender, lost in your arms, lost to the world, utterly immersed in what is present so that its surroundings fade away. In Benjamin's terms, to be lost is to be fully present. And to be fully present is to be capable of being in uncertainty and mystery. And one does not get lost, but loses oneself, with the implication that it is a conscious choice, a chosen surrender, a psychic state achievable through geography. Well, just ha. I don't think any of us has chosen to be lost, at least not this version right now. But Walter Benjamin's point of being fully immersed in the present is well taken. With our sense of what it is to be normal, especially at holiday time, being stripped away, we are left to contemplate exactly how to manage in this new, virus-ridden, socially distant landscape. For some, especially the introverts, the landscape of people is like getting tangled in the exhausting woods of conversation and convention. This has been a break that gives permission to hibernate, to not be in crowds, to be alone. For others, this is living hell. Humans are designed to be in community, in connection with each other. Not seeing loved ones or being with family, especially this time of year, is like being present to the ache of loneliness that can warp even the most grounded person's sense of reality and emotional well-being. Getting lost in the woods means that the trees become objects, barriers, endless guardians to the unknown and unwanted. This is not Keats' idealized version of negative capability that is somehow to be navigated with an air of achievement. Instead, it is a terra incognita of misery. Being lost is somehow a reasonable thing to do or be right now. According to Solnick, the word lost comes from the Old Norse language los, L-O-S, meaning the disbanding of an army. This origin suggests that soldiers falling out of formation are going home, a truce with a wider world. On this longest night, many of us are out of formation. We are lost, not sure about ourselves anymore. This is true emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. This being utterly present in the moment, but it is not the end. It is a moment in time. The light will return. In his Mosaic blog post, Michael Meade, author and storyteller, reminds us that it is important to remember the underlying unity and inner wisdom of life. He writes that the holidays used to be holy days, for it is the holiness and sacredness of life that tries to return to our awareness at solstice time. Solstice means sun stands still, as there is an open moment, a subtle gap in time, a still point through which life renews itself at the level of the cosmos, at the level of the turning seasons, and in the depths of the human soul, where an inner light also shines. Now, going back to my childhood days of getting lost in the woods, I remember a time when things went wrong. A branch snapped and flew into my eye, leaving a briar embedded. I couldn't see to open my eyes to get home. My brother, who was usually my competitor and not always on my side, picked me up and carried me back across the creek. Setting aside the normalcy of brother-sister rivalry, the inner light of caring for each other shone through. It is what we do. It is our nature from the beginning. According to Mead, traditional cultures around the world imagined that the midwinter sun needed conscious help from people in order to bring the light back from the darkness. The rebirth of the sun was reflected in the potential awakening and inner illumination of the heart and soul of each person. For each soul harbors an inner sun, a deep and giving self that is also a light found inside darkness. This sense of holy days and hidden light serve to remind everyone of the sacredness of life and of our innate connection to the world's capacity to renew itself, specifically in the darkest hours. There may be no better time than the dark times we find ourselves in to rekindle the instinct for uniting together and expressing love and generosity. We may not be able to gather together physically, but we can gather in spirit and face the darkness together. Frail as we all may feel and sorrowful as we may be, we can still light candles and honor all those who have died in the course of this tragic year. We can find ways to pray for the earth. We can call upon the spirit of life, and we can help each other bring the light back from darkness once again. This solstice, this gap when the sun stands still, join with me in finding ways to help one another through the darkness. We all get lost from time to time, and we all need to find ways to navigate the terra incognita. If we reach out, even virtually, to connect, to carry each other back over the creek, we can all look forward to the holy day when we are of renewed spirit and connection. This is the longest night. This is arguably the longest year. It is also true that the light will return. Let's kindle it. Let's kindle the flame in each of us. My friends, happy solstice, and may your inner light return as we care for each other. Blessed be and amen.
They say that spring will come again, but no one knows exactly when. Still the sun's a long lost friend on the longest night of the year. We stare into the firelight while December beats outside, where the darkest hearts reside on the longest night of the year. So keep me safe and hold me tight. Let the candle burn all night. Tomorrow welcome back the light. It was the longest night of the I used to think the world was small, bright and shining like a ball. Seems I don't know much at all on the longest night of the year. We press our faces to the glass and see our little lives go past, wave to shadows that we cast on the longest night of the year. So keep me safe and hold me tight. Let the candle burn all night. Tomorrow, welcome back the light. It was the longest night of the year. Make a vow when solstice comes to find the light in everyone. Keep the faith and bang the drum on the longest night of the year. So keep me safe and hold me tight. Let the candle burn all night. Tomorrow, welcome back the light. It was the longest night of the year. So keep me safe and hold me tight. Let the candle burn all night. Tomorrow, welcome back the light after the longest night of the year.
Thank you, Brandon, for that sweet and tender musical selection. As we move from darkness to light, I invite you to consider how you will help kindle the hearth fires for our congregation. First UU is a church that matters. It is in the foundation of our being to love, to care, and to be generous. We know this world is a long way from being fair to all people. It takes all of us to make it better. To offer our gifts and pay our promised pledges is to say to ourselves and the world that we are defined by our hearts and our deeper values. During the month of December, your gifts will support our congregation's holiday appeal. These funds help our church to extend our community support and continue our vital programs. Today, we are highlighting our religious exploration program for children and youth. I am honored to serve as your Director of Religious Exploration. I work alongside many dedicated volunteers to foster Unitarian Universalist identity in our young people and to ensure our church is welcoming to folks of all ages. From building community and learning about other religious traditions to offering comprehensive sexuality education, our programs for children and youth make a big difference, both within our congregation and in the wider Columbus community. Your gifts make this important work possible. The offering that helps build a better world and a better church will now be gratefully received. You can donate online on our website, text to give, bank by mail, or write a check and mail it in. Thank you for your generosity.
Thank you, Sharon, and thank you, Nathan. Dear ones, we have many joys and sorrows to share today. During a moment in this pandemic filled with grief and fear and anticipation, at a time of year that swirls with happiness but touches deep pain for many. The earth is shifting as it always does, but for many, this is a time of stillness, and for some, this stillness is not welcome. The darkness and cold, social isolation, recent and remembered loss weigh many of us down. If you are struggling now, please know you are not alone. You are not alone. I invite you to place a hand on your arm or hold your hands together or touch your heart or your belly, whatever helps you feel care for yourself. Feed or rekindle that inner light of care. Know that expressing care for yourself is caring for the community. And as you hold yourself with care, hold each other. This morning we have many caring cards. We express our sympathy to Tom T. and his wife Jean D., Tom's 98-year-old mother, Winifred Flickinger, died due to COVID-19 on December 13th. We also found out this week that Kitty J tested positive for COVID. At this time, she and Oliver are both doing well, but welcome healing thoughts. For all of our family, friends, and loved ones dealing with COVID or feeling its impact, we offer our prayers and our healing energy. Kathleen F. entered Riverside Hospital on Thursday. She is being treated for a post-pharyngeal nasal abscess. We send caring and healing thoughts. And Marion G. recently injured her arm and is healing gradually. She appreciates your healing thoughts. These sorrows were brought forward in the chat today. Lucretia H. shares, I lost my husband of 27 years, Sam, last month in a motorcycle accident. Lucretia, I know I can speak for the congregation in expressing our sorrow for your loss. It is good to be here with you in this time. Jeannie R. sends healing energy for Kathleen F. and all in need. And Sylvia H. sends healing energy and love to Kitty and Oliver. Dana R. expresses sorrow that a person I know has been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And Nikki H. shares, my 20-year-old cat, Yoshi, has worsening heart and kidney disease. All of these sorrows we hold together in our care. We also have cause to celebrate. We are sending a caring card to Lindsay A., daughter of Cliff and Holly A., who graduated cum laude as an honors college scholar from Kent State University on December 19th. Faith Van Horn has been accepted to present an academic paper at the Divine Bodies Conference, hosted by the Theology and Religious Studies Department at the University of Glasgow. Barb F.'s daughter, Becca F. had a baby boy on Thursday. She and Daniel B. are now the proud parents of Peter B. F. Congratulations. And these joys were brought forward in the chat. Sheila H. reports the joy that her cardiac procedure went well, and thanks for all our well wishes. Julie S. says, I am grateful for the ability to continue connecting with my church family via Zoom during this pandemic. I know it requires a lot of work by many people, and I am thankful to all. And happy birthday to Norm M. today. We notice the light and the dark, sorrow and joy, letting each bring depth and meaning to the other. Let us now take a few moments in quiet reflection, alone, together.
I invite you to follow the sound of our temple bell into a moment of silence. I now invite you to sing together Dark of Winter by UU composer Shelley Jackson Denham. This text was written to celebrate the positive energy of night and darkness.
Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet calm surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will, ease my mind profoundly, and then my soul will sing a song, a blessed song of love eternal. Gentle darkness, soft and still, bring your quiet to me. Darkness, soothe my weary eyes, that I may see more clearly. When my heart with sorrow cries, comfort and caress me, and then my soul may hear a voice, a still small voice of love eternal. Darkness, when my fears arise, let your peace flow through me.
This is a quote from Jay Pittman, a rocket scientist at Goddard Space Center. On the evening of the 21st of this month, You will have a chance to touch both the past and the future. 800 years ago, almost certainly, Genghis Khan, the most powerful man in the world, looked into the sky and pondered on an unusually bright point of light. This light was the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. Soon, that very close conjunction will occur around 5:20 p.m. in the western sky. It will be visible even to our light-polluted world for almost an hour. So go see for yourself the majesty of two planets and ponder with the great Khan the beauty of it all and your place in it. I suggest you do one more thing. Take a child with you, and you will give two gifts. First, you will give the gift of happiness of teaching something to the child. Second, you will enable that child to do something that you probably cannot do. See this conjunction twice. The next occurrence like this will occur in 2080, and you may be enable that child to see it then and to remember that evening, a long time ago, when I looked up in the sky and saw two planets together. The then former child may even remember that it was you who took them out to see it, and you will be remembered for a moment. I assure you, there are far worse things you could aspire to than to be the source of a pleasant childhood memory. Thank you.
I invite you now to sing our closing song. Regardless of whether we're celebrating the return of the sun through the winter solstice on this longest night, or celebrating the planets and a once in a lifetime, perhaps, closest degree of togetherness, if you will, of two planets that form a bright star in our sky. With all of this, we will sing our closing song, "'Tis Winter Now," that allows us to celebrate the darkness and the light.
Tis winter now, the fallen snow has left the hands all coldly clear. Through leafless boughs the sharp winds blow, and all the earth lies dead and drear. And though abroad the sharp winds blow, and skies are chill and frosts are keen, home closer draws our circle now, and warmer glows the light within.
If you have your candle or chalice nearby, I invite you to bring it close so that we can extinguish our chalice together. I invite you to say our extinguishing words together, as they are based on our vision, and I hope that everyone knows them by heart by now, but if not, I'll put them on the screen for you. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of vision. As we go forth, let us heal and transform ourselves and our world through reason and love. Our chalice is extinguished.
Join us this Thursday for a carol sing at 7 p.m., followed by our Christmas Eve service at 7:30. Login information will be sent out that day via email. Next Sunday, please join us for our Kwanzaa service. And don't forget to check out and contribute to our congregation's holiday recipe book on our website. Everyone is invited to join us for coffee hour after the service. You will need to click the link posted in the chat to head back into Zoom shortly after the worship ends. The passcode for coffee hour is lowercase UU. Coffee hour will go live in just a few minutes after this broadcast is over. See you there.
Every week, we express our gratitude. Special thanks to everyone who made today's worship service possible. Thank you to Sue Farnlocker for our lovely flower arrangement on the chapel, Angela Rupert for tech support, Donna Greenman for our solstice readings, and Sharon Hammersley for playing percussion during the offertory. As always, many thanks to our wonderful musicians and your ministry team.
I'd like to leave you with this quote about darkness. Darkness does not kill the light, it defines it. Darkness does not kill the light, it defines it. How has darkness helped define your life, your light? I invite you to ponder that quote this week and also to take it into coffee hour with us. My friends, happy solstice and have a wonderful week. May the light return for all of us. Blessed be and amen.